So for me, I think a lot of the reaction to this, to be honest, has been over the top. And I know, generally I lean towards optimism in all aspects of my life where I can. But I don't think it's being optimistic to say that performance was fine within the circumstances. And, I've just seen so many football seasons where those games happen and you do get a 0-0, or, I can't remember many, the many League Cup finals that Jurgen Klopp got to where they absolutely hammered sides in the first leg of the League Cup semi-final. It just didn't happen. So a 0-0 away to a Tottenham side who were clearly playing much more defensively would have been absolutely fine. But because they didn't get it, because the goal comes late, because it comes after all the emotion of being disappointed of not beating Manchester United in the game Liverpool, by the way, should have won, as much as United raised the game in that one, I feel like the emotions become too much, and I'm seeing real loss of composure from supporters over things that happen multiple times through football seasons. So for me,
you surely have to understand why, David. They've seen this play out multiple seasons in a row.
I don't know. I didn't know. See, I've seen this narrative emerge, and I'd see. Can you see I'm on a bit of a ranty mood today?
Hey, that's all right, man. I love it. Bring it on.
Yeah, I've seen this narrative emerge. Every single season under Jurgen Klopp, it fell apart through fatigue. Nonsense. Liverpool used to maybe have a little bit of a small wobble mid-season. The only season where it absolutely collapsed towards the end was last season. And does anybody think that the reason for that was that Liverpool's squad somehow wasn't big enough, or the fact that they had about 50 injuries through the season? I think it's created an unbelievably warped sense about the size of a squad a big club needs to have. Apparently you need to have 6 centre-halves and 14 midfielders. And, I think there's maybe small questions you can ask about Slot's use of his squad, maybe, but I completely wholeheartedly disagree with the idea that this group is being driven into the ground, or that these last 2 performances are anything to do with the fact that they should have signed players, or this squad's going to collapse. Those circumstances around last season were very specific to last season, and I think if Liverpool continue on the current path of kind of avoiding injuries, I don't think anything like that will happen. And I get why people are a little bit twitchy about it, maybe. But a lot of the analysis and assessment of it's gone way too far for me.
So I guess let's look at the centre-back situation for a second. Thankfully, you gave an update last night. That was great news. It was just Jarell Quansah felt ill. Brilliant. That's far better than the other option. But let's say it wasn't. Just for a second. Let's say it was a hamstring, abductor muscle, something like that. We were screwed. Be honest about it. We were screwed. We 2 centre-backs fit for the rest of the time till Gomez is back. And yes, Endo can be shoehorned in there. But it just isn't good enough that Liverpool are in that position as a club. Okay, 4 centre-backs isn't good enough. We didn't replace Matip. Not good enough.
So can you tell me a club who is operating with 5 centre-halves? And by the way, can I exclude City from this on the basis that they use more than the normal amount of centre-halves in their defence? They sometimes use them in midfield. They use them right and left back, don't they? So can you tell me another club who's got more than 4 centre-halves and 2 right backs and 2 left backs? Genuinely,
I'll counter you with a different answer, if I may. We have Joe Gomez, who is either a centre-back or a right-back or a left-back, depending on what we need. So we've got him. We've got a youngster whose confidence is worryingly shot from coming through last season and is not fully acclimatised to first-team football yet. Then we've got our captain, who's obviously the best centre-back in the world, so there's no argument there. And Ibrahima Konate, who was absolutely fantastic, but has also potentially shown some fatigue and muscle injuries in the past as well. So it's not just a case of how many bodies we have, it's how good those bodies are and how trusting the manager is of them. So yeah. I think not replacing Matip at the end of last season, when we had that 5 centre-back squad, and now we don't, is a concern.
No, so for me, I don't think Liverpool went into last season thinking that they had kind of 5 centre-backs either. I think they thought that they had 4, and then Jarell Quansah became an option whereby, once Matip... And for me, you have to make a decision here, and this is the I don't think people are being honest about this in terms of wanting to sign a centre-half, because, okay, if you want to sign a centre-half, do you want to completely block Jarell Quansah's pathway? And that's fine if people do, by the way. But they have to be honest about it. They have to say that they don't want him to play for Liverpool.
I don't know, David, is the honest answer. I don't know what to make of Quansah, because when he came through, I thought he was a Rolls Royce. And maybe it was the first game of the season where Arnold just pulled him out of the firing line because he lost a few duels and he was replaced by Konate, and Konate was just so good that it became a fixture of him and Van Dijk. I think people are unsure, and that's the honest answer with it. I think people don't know, they're on the fence.
So and that, as I say, that's absolutely fine because he was brilliant last season, hasn't been so brilliant this season. So I think that uncertainty is absolutely fair. But when you're building a squad and you're the manager and you have to manage that squad, you can't go, well, I'm a bit unsure, therefore we're going to bring in a centre-half, Jarell, you are not seeing the pitch. Because he's only managed 500 minutes this season. He wasn't on the pitch when they lost to Forest. He barely played yesterday, and he wasn't on the pitch when the goal was conceded. So, he's not been at the scene of the crime for some of the negative moments around this season, although people are seemingly putting a lot of blame on him. But the decision the manager and the sporting director have to make is, do we completely block his minutes? Because he hasn't picked up very many at all this season. If you sign another centre-half, he gets 0. So that's the decision they have to make. So it's absolutely fine for people to say they want that to happen, but nobody's saying that. They're saying, we want to sign an extra centre-half, but there are consequences to doing that people do not think through.
Let me push back then. You asked me about 5-6 centre-backs. I'll ask you, why is he not getting minutes? So you can talk about what the fans trust and don't trust and what we think, but it's what the manager thinks that's important. And you've quoted 500 minutes. Why is he only getting 500 minutes? It's because it's an intentional choice from the gaffer.
Because where would he have got them? He's not going to replace Canate in the Premier League, and he's not going to place Joe Gomez, who is up ahead of him in the pecking order. So they're both playing the Champions League and the Premier League games. Quansah's getting his minutes in the League Cup primarily so far, also probably in the FA Cup as well. So where else would he get the minutes? So this is what I'm saying. The opportunities to play, give 5 centre-halves their game time are just not there whatsoever. So, you bring in a 5th one, he's definitely ahead of Quansah then, I guess. He's not going to sign unless he is. And then Quansah gets 0 minutes.
Quansah gets pulled off in the first game of the season because the manager has doubts about him and hasn't put him back in really since.
So sell him.
Dress that up however you want.
But this is what I'm saying then. So sell him.
Exactly. And this, by the way, I love a ruthless streak in you, in the manager, and anybody else. And that's what I'm saying. I want some definitive decisions because last night we had Chiesa sitting on the bench. Mohamed Salah is brilliant but looked leggy towards the end last night. Understandably so, as many others did. It's been, a tiring time of the year. And he didn't even want to bring Chiesa on. I know he can only do 10, 12 minutes. I get that at the moment. But he didn't even want to utilise him. And Harvey Elliott's still sitting on the bench. They're taking up squad places. And we as fans can only assume that Slot doesn't trust them to go out and get a job done. So why are they here? That's the question. I'm playing devil's advocate. That's the question that many fans are going to ask. Why are we seeing Chiesa paying $100,000 a week or whatever he's on, get up to fitness in 6 months, get onto a squad, hear from his agent that he's about to get minutes, and Arne Slot doesn't give him 10 when we're chasing the game?
I think with Chiesa, the priority will be for him to start in the Accrington game, to be honest. The Harvey Elliott one, I think, is an absolutely fair point in terms of I've been surprised by the lack of faith that's been shown in him, although he's been very unfortunate with the timing of the injury when he's come back. We know this manager's shown with Jota, by the way, that he absolutely wants them peak level of fitness before he puts them anywhere near the team. So, I hope he plays against Accrington and I hope he impresses. But, I just think those are kind of separate, for me, those are kind of separate issues. I think both of those will play against Accrington and we'll start to hopefully then see them be involved a little bit more. That is my hope on those. But the Quansah thing for me, I think if people want to debate around this about the signing of a centre-half, I'm absolutely fine with people wanting to do that, but they also have to probably come out and say we want to sell Jarell Quansah, which again, I am fine with people saying that. I personally don't agree. I would love to just see him managed a bit more and see, just ease him back in this season and hopefully he can get a bit more confidence back in him because I think there's a real talent there. But for me, if you are signing into the centre-half, you have to sell Jarell Quansah or you have to sell Canate, whose injury record everybody loves mentioning. You have to make those kind of decisions. And if people want to make that decision, that's fair enough. But for me, I think people think it's going to be a 5th centre-half on top, and it's not.
Our club don't make those decisions, David. We don't. We're not proactive. We sit there and we react to things. We're Liverpool. Not proactive. Absolutely. You think Liverpool fans are happy with the transfer activity over the past few years?
Well, they tried to bomb Wataru Endo at the start of this season, basically, didn't they? They were happy.
The manager, not us. Yeah. The manager's the one not selecting them. Liverpool fans love Endo. Every Liverpool fan I speak to wants more Endo on the pitch.
But I'm saying that the manager's showing this ruthless streak that you say that people want to see.
It's not good being ruthless and just leaving him in the squad, though. Sell him. Free up a squad place, because we're always being told that squad places are at a minimum, wages are at a premium. if you don't trust and rate these players, get them out the door.
I agree. I absolutely agree. But also, you've got to acknowledge that they are given contracts and that they have the right to sort of see those contracts out. I know in Endo's case specifically,
very
the
unlucky,
manager
let me
was
say.
happy to
Endo's
ban him.
been extremely unlucky.
Yeah,
If Jurgen was here, Endo would be playing. I totally understand and sympathise with that. And I've mentioned that many times. Endo's just been incredibly unlucky.
Yeah, I think he has, and I thought he did really, really well at centre half yesterday. And I think he's been underutilised by the manager, in my opinion. But equally, he came in, he saw a player he didn't think was a great fit for what he wanted, tried to bomb him. Liverpool kind of wanted to sell, but the player was so determined to stay. And I think he's proved his point with his performances. But equally, he's still not getting the minutes because he still doesn't properly fit what the manager wants. So, I think that ruthless streak Slot has tried to show that. It just hasn't kind of worked out. But yeah, he's making his decisions about who he fancies or whatever. And I don't know. I just think sometimes you can get on little runs in seasons where, things kind of don't work out for you or whatever. And it's been a couple of bad results at the end of a 24-game unbeaten streak. And now it's like, right, transfers are the issue here. I just personally don't really agree, to be honest.
So here's where I am. The centre-back thing is kind of far down my priority list, if I'm being honest with you. It's probably third or fourth. Midfielder, Ryan Gravenberch cover, number one priority for me. Left back, honestly, I'm kind of in your camp on this. I think wait till the summer. We can get what we need out of Robbo and Costas, but it is still an area of concern. But it's the midfielder one that I think sticks in the throat of many of us, because we've seen window after window, transfer committee after transfer committee, coach after coach go through and be unable to solve this problem. Gravenberch has stepped in and been brilliant, but nobody wants to see him play 70 games in a year and become like Saka, run into the ground perhaps and injured. So that needs to be sorted out, I think. But if we can just bring it back to last night, I think, for a second. I do want to... by the way, this is brilliant. I love this debate. We're doing it respectfully. It's absolutely perfect, and I hope people are enjoying listening to it. But